Baba knows the way. For Joseph Baba Ifa, Baba knows the way. We follow the signs. He walks with the 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients. He honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from.
Hey family, thank you for tuning into Our Roots podcast with Joseph Baba Ifa. Where only the strongest roots see the light, brought to you by 𝗿𝗲𝗹𝗁 candles and more. And if you haven't had the opportunity, hit that subscribe button. Phil, I got a question for you today.
What's that? What's going on?
How do you feel about dogs?
I absolutely love dogs.
Really?
Big dogs, small dogs, mean dogs, happy dogs, silly dogs, hot dogs, chili dogs. Oh, wait.
The 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲, yeah.
I love dogs, man.
Where did that start?
I had a little dog when I was young. His name was Buster.
Okay.
That was my first dog, and he was like my best friend
That's awesome.
when I was younger, man. And I wish I could. I would love to have a dog today for my son. I think that would help him out a lot. But
Yeah.
my wife is not from this country, so the dogs where she's from are all feral. So she's horrified. by
Yeah.
dogs.
And 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, they're all feral as well.
yeah. She's horrified by this.
It's wild because when I was a kid, man, I was actually walking home one day and I actually almost got bit by a pit bull. And for the longest time, I'm not sure if that's still intact. I don't think so. But pit bulls were pretty outlawed in Miami because of the fighting and things like that was going on. Really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I actually almost got bit by one. I was trying to get a mango, ironically, and he almost yanked me over the fence. So since then, I love animals. I really do. And, I think they're deserving of respect. My grandmother taught me that from a very young age. She gave me a proverb. She says, even a dog deserves respect. But I never really had that conventional relationship with one until I got with my wife. And she had a Shih Tzu named Jade who's passed on. God bless, man. That was the first real dog that I felt like.
Wait, that was the one when I was at your house?
Was Jade still alive when you came to the house,
Yeah.
man? Yeah, she was, pretty much a year from then, yeah, she went back home, man. So,
man.
yeah, I cried and everything, man. It hit me. And I had never had that connection with one like that before, and it was with her that I really realized, like, yo, these are people. These are energies. These are, family. So it's the reason I ask is today we're doing Ifa and dogs.
Oh man, this is gonna be a great episode.
Absolutely, because Ifa is chock full of information about this animal since the very beginning. We talk about that relationship between man and canine and how seamless it's been. Ifa has a lot of information about how that relationship really started. So I kind of want to go into the story that talks about, where that relationship did commence. So if we look at the Odu of 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃 or 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃, it speaks of the dog. And the dog, was in the woods. It was a feral dog and things like that. We might have time at the end to kind of go over like dog subspecies like the wolf and things like that. That might actually be a whole nother video because the wolf has a bunch of information as well. And technically hyenas are actually more closely related to another animal than dogs. I just found that out.
Really?
But yeah. So the dog was in the jungle, right? And he was friends with the birds, right? So the birds would, tell him, hey, if you see the hunter, tell us so we can fly away. And he was like, all right, I got you. Whenever I see the hunter, I'll bark and you'll know to fly away. So the hunter would come in, maybe it was 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗃, I don't know, Ogun, whatever, one of 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗃 or the Orisha hunters were present there. I think it was 𝘃𝗶𝗃 in the story. He came around and the dog barked and the birds flew away. So 𝘃𝗶𝗃 was like, bro, every time I come around, the dog barks, I don't get the bird, I go hungry. This is an issue. So he went to visit the 𝗃𝗏𝗏. And when he did, the Odu of 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗃 was revealed, where Ifa told him he needed to perform sacrifice with meat, right? And when he did this, he was instructed to deposit it in the jungle. So when he went to deposit the 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗃, he had the meat and he was putting it down, and he saw the dog. And he was like, hey, man, don't worry. I'm not going after any birds. This is the last meat I have, and I'll probably die because I can't eat it because it's the 𝗃𝗃𝗃. And the dog looked at him and said, man, I would really love to eat too. I haven't eaten. And 𝘃𝗶𝗃 looked at him and said, what do you mean you haven't eaten? You've been helping the birds. They don't feed you. They don't give you anything. They were like, no. He was like, no, I just do it off the strength. Those are my guys. So he was like, well, that doesn't convenience you. And the dog was like, you know, it really doesn't. You know, I'm here eating worms and bugs and things like that. Like, I need some protein. And 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 looked at him and he said, well, how about you eat some of this? And the dog was like, well, why are you helping me? He said, well, you're going hungry, and I think we could help each other here, man, because, I mean, no one should do anything for free. So how about this? If you help me kill the bird, I'll give you some. And the dog was like, word? All right. So the next time, the hunter went with the dog into the jungle, and the birds were chilling because they're like, the dog's going to let us know. And at that moment, 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 shot the arrow, killed a bird. The dog went to go get it, kind of like terrier style, and brought it back. And the birds were like, oh, how could you betray us like this? How could you help him? He's going to kill you. And he was like, but he feeds me. You know, you guys never fed me, so it is what it is. And that's why till this day, we still have that equation. You know, it speaks all the way back to the beginning of time where we began assisting each other. They say that ultimately the dog or the modern canine were kind of the rejects of the wolf pack, you know, people that couldn't really find position within there. And because of it, they created that relationship with man. But if we look at that 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗃, from the very beginning, the dog assisted man to be able to survive. Some people would say that without the dog's assistance, you know, would we be here? You know, because you talk about at that very primal level, us having limitations from a physical standpoint, although being superior from an intellect standpoint, debatably, you know, it was through them that we were able to accomplish much more and provide much more than we did. So that's why till this day, we still have that equation, you know, where you'll see the terrier, as soon as, you know, the marksman hits the bird, the dog goes and finds it, brings it back, and then we all break it proper. So, you know, it's a first and primal example, right? The dog is an Orisha, or an animal that is very closely related to the Orisha Ogun. And we're going to go over a bunch of patakis that talk about their relationship, because ironically, it's not as friendly as most people would think. And we're kind of going to go into the Orisha that he actually originally belonged to. But there's another pataki I wanted to get into as well before we delve into that. In the Odu of Odibara, it speaks of the dog. And the dog was once again on the path, right? Creation and things like that, first steps. And he had this instinct to walk forward, right? So he kept walking forward and forward and forward and forward until he actually arrived for the first time ever at a crossroads. And he was completely confused. So not having wherewithal, he actually laid down in the middle of the crossroads and tried to spread his legs in 4 different directions, right? And 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 was at the corner laughing at him. He said, what are you doing? He said, no, I'm trying to, you know, figure out where to go. And he's like, well, you're not going to be able to do it like that, you know. That's impossible. You're just wasting time trying to do everything. You're getting nothing done. So the dog got angry, and he went running to Orula. When divination was performed, the Odu of Odibara was revealed, where Ifa told him to perform sacrifice to 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 to be able to have an orientation in life and a direction, right? So the dog really didn't want to do it because he was very mad at 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 for making fun of him, but he needed to figure out where he was going and what he was going to do. So he performed the famous sacrifice of the rooster to 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 at the 4 corners, which I recommend for anybody in that Odu, by the way. And when the sacrifice was performed, 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 looked at him and said, well, I'm happy you smartened up. Now I can kind of help you figure things out, you know, because I like you, but everybody's got to, you know, pay tax. So the dog said, well, where do I go? And he said, well, what was your thought process? He said, well, you know, I had been going forward this whole time, but when I saw all the different directions I could go, I got confused. So I thought, well, I'll go backwards. But that didn't make much sense to me because I already know what's back there. I thought about going right or left, but that was really unknown to me, and it might cause me to end up right back here. So 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 looked at him and cut him off, and he said, so whenever in doubt, go forward. And the dog looked at him and said, wow, why didn't I think of that? He said, because I corrupted your mind to confuse you because I wanted my rooster. And actually, based on that interaction, the dog and 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃 became inseparable. There's actually a path of 𝘃𝗶𝗍 known as 𝘃𝗶𝗶𝗃𝗃, which means the dog is here, right? So it's actually one of the spirit animals of 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗃. Although I believe in the Odu of, it's either 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗃 or 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗃, that 𝘃𝗄 actually eats dog as well. So, you know, we're friends only until we get hungry. But neither here nor there, the dog, because of this 𝗃𝗏𝗍, never gets lost. It's an Odu that says, when in doubt, move forward. And if you notice, a dog always does that. When in doubt, it just keeps walking, and it usually finds its way home.
Yeah.
And there's also an Odu known as 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗶, which speaks about the dog as well in various aspects, but it has a 𝗃𝗏𝗍 there as well, where the dog performed sacrifice with key materials, right? He performed sacrifice with dirt from the road to never get lost. He performed sacrifice with ocean water so he would never drown. And he performed sacrifice with garbage so he would never go hungry. So that's why the dog never gets lost. He never drowns, the famous dog paddle. And he never goes hungry because, you know, either he's going to find something or people tend to feed dogs. You know, we really don't even think about some of these phenomenons instinctually, but why do people feel the need to feed a dog when they see it on the street?
Yeah, and how you just said the doggy paddle. I didn't even think about that either.
Like, why? You know what I'm saying? But that's the beautiful thing about Ifa, is it explains certain concepts that we can't explain within ourselves, that we kind of see as commonplace or instinctual. But there was a key moment where certain things happened or did not happen that caused, you know, the modern phenomenon that sometimes we don't pay attention to until we study this literature, right? So speaking on, there's so much good information on this thing, man. I mean, the big thing with the dog and Ogun is a lot of people think, oh, the dog and Ogun are friends, right? This couldn't be further from the truth. The majority of the time that you see the dog and Ogun interacting is actually in dispute. Now, there are key differences. Like, we've referenced 𝗃𝗏𝗍, like in the 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗲, where the dog alerted Ogun of 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗲's infidelity, and which led to her, you know, process. But I don't know if the dog necessarily did that out of loyalty to Ogun as much as distaste for 𝗃𝗏𝗍. There are versions of the story in the Odu of Ogun where the dog not only assisted Ogun in finding out about 𝗃𝗏𝗍's betrayal, but also helped him win the war. That's why dogs were taken to war in the Odu of Ogun. But originally, the first interaction when the dog came down and Ogun came down in the Odu 𝗿𝗶𝗸𝗍, they were mortal enemies, to the point where the dog actually chased Ogun out of Ife because Ogun was eating too many of them. That's why, till this day, there's this phenomenon that occurs, and I've actually seen it firsthand, and it was before I read this 𝗃𝗏𝗍. Dogs by nature are timid around the children of Ogun. So for all of the children of Ogun out there, crowned or not crowned, be very careful with dogs, right? Because they say that they can smell, and this is in the Odu 𝗿𝗶𝗍, they can smell the DNA of Ogun in the person, and it's kind of a reminiscence of when they had to kick Ogun out of Ife because Ogun was eating them, right? So that's when, you know, basically Ogun got kicked out of Ife, and the dog dictated that all of my children will never trust any of your children, and they'll always bark at them, right? So I've noticed that, like, there's been always this, like, crazy phenomenon with the children of Ogun, especially when I'm taking them through ceremony. Like, I have a godson who I was giving a gungun to one time, and it was happening towards, like, dusk, right? And, you know, the sun's starting to go down, and we're in the middle of ceremony, and I see, like, this thing moving in the branches on my property. And I'm like, yo, what is that? You know, and we're all, you know, everybody's got a knife on them and stuff like that. And we're all looking, and it's a dog doing a number 2. And I was like, bro, you really are a son of Ogun, bro. There was another process he was going through that out of nowhere, a guy showed up with like 3 black Rottweilers and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know, it's just the way nature kind of responds to process. It really is a confirmation. But
is there a, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Is there a story or a 𝗃𝗏𝗍 about how dogs always spin around before they either lay down or use the bathroom, and how they have to look at the owner's face when they do that?
I'm trying to think of that process, like just in the Rolodex, right? I'm trying to think of, you know, just an occasion where the dog did that.
Because apparently it was because when dogs were hunted, they would always have to spin around and check their surroundings before they would go to sleep or use the bathroom because they were vulnerable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's why animals in general, and we'll make a video on cats at some point. Cats.
Nah, we don't have to.
Yeah, oh man, I'm a cat guy. I'm a gonna keep it a buck. I'm a cat guy. Like, but the cats are like that too. Like, they don't feel safe eating in alone. Like, they always want somebody kind of watching their back. Like, my cat will bother. Well, you met him, Finley. he'll bother somebody until like somebody actually stands behind him so he can eat. Like he's just paranoid like that. But with the dogs, I can't recall of one, especially based on the eye contact and things like that. But I did see it firsthand because that dog was staring at us like super intensely. And I'm like, let me not break eye contact and interrupt anything.
Well, they said that too. You're not supposed to, like a dog you don't know, you're not supposed to like stare at him in the eyes or something like that.
I mean, he was pretty vulnerable though. So if he wanted to pop off, we were ready. I mean, whatever it took. He didn't want no problems, no smoke whatsoever. As soon as he was done, he dipped. But as far as the circle and the eye contact, I can't think of one. I do know, and we're going to delve into this pataki, this sign anyway. In the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗄𝗏, it speaks of when the dog was thirsty. And he was told to perform sacrifice with the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗄𝗏, but he didn't finish the bowl completely. And that's why till this day, a dog will drink water, but it will always like it'll always like have its tongue out and be panting and things like that, where it constantly needed to hydrate and things like that, where its glands work a little differently. So that's in the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗏. But the other two, I'd have to delve a little deeper. Maybe that's a story I haven't gotten yet. But in this same Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗏, it speaks when the first owner of the dog was actually 𝗃𝗶𝗃𝗃. And who actually owned the ram originally was Ogun. So they were two brothers, and these things kind of functioned as their vehicles. Now, mind you, they must have been gargantuan at this point. So they were invited to a drumming, right? And when they went to the drumming, they pulled up on their, animals, and they were there at the drumming. So time goes by.
You saying they rode the dogs there?
Yeah, so 𝗃𝗃𝗃 rode the dog there. Like, it must have been like Never Ending Story or something like that. I don't know. That's what the paperwork says. And then Ogun rode the ram, kind of like Lord of the Rings, the third one, The Return of the King. And they showed up at the tambol. So when they get there, they park their animals and they go inside. So in 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗏 is where the santeros who are, into the drumming and stuff like that, who know, where the phenomenon happens, why it's so important to have food at the drumming. There's this thing that happens sometimes where you'll go to a drum and, you'll see some like pastelitos, but there's not any real food. That's a huge taboo. And that's in the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗏 because of this story. So they were there, and Ogun was drinking more than he was eating, right? Because there really wasn't any food. So he's like, yo, I'm going to use the bathroom, all right? So 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was like, go ahead. But 𝗃𝗃𝗃 met up with some friends there, and they were like, yo, 𝗃𝗃𝗃, this drum, it sucks, man. They don't have no food, the music's okay, pero... we're dying here. And he's like, oh, I didn't know. Let me see what I could do. And 𝗃𝗃𝗃 looked at his brother's ram, at Ogun's ram, and he was like, bro, why don't we eat that? Yeah, my brother won't care, whatever, it's a ram. So they killed the ram and they all ate it together, right? So when Ogun came out and he was able to, use the bathroom and kind of regain some of his rationale, he looked at 𝗃𝗃𝗃 and said, bro, there's no food here. This drum sucks. Like, I'm ready to go home. Like, bring me my ram. And 𝗃𝗃𝗃 looked at him and said, bro, I hate to break it to you, but there's no food here, so we ate the ram. And Ogun started losing it and flipping out and was like, oh, you ate my ram? Oh, my God. And he grabbed the dog and bit the dog's neck and started sucking the dog dry.
Oh, my God.
Just eating him, right?
Ogun did that?
Ogun did that. Bare teeth. So when that ended, 𝗃𝗃𝗃 was horrified and everybody was horrified. And they were like, and Ogun threw the dog and said, you know what? You could stay with the ram. I didn't like it that much anyway, but the dogs are mine. And that's why till this day, the ram became 𝗃𝗃𝗃's predilect food, and Ogun became more preferent towards the dog, right? But it's not that they were friends. It's not that they were allies. The majority of time in Ifa mythology, when you see an orisha eating an animal, it's because they were at war and the animal lost. Right? And then if you look at the Odu Baba Ifa August as well, Ogun selected the dog as one of his preferred foods. So it's definitely explicatory of that. So yeah, Ogun at that point became the owner of the dog basically. And a lot of people don't know that 𝗃𝗃𝗃 had a really great relationship with the dog. Ironically, you actually notice that the sons of 𝗃𝗃𝗃 actually have more of a peaceful relationship with dogs than the sons of Ogun. And I guess it's based off of that. 𝗃𝗃𝗃, I mean, there are pataki that speak about it, like in the Odu of 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. I mean, if he was the owner, that means he consumed it, but he wasn't his preference. But in the 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗃 it speaks of another aggressive interaction between Ogun and the dog. In the 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗃 was where Ogun and the dog were neighbors, right? And Ogun, for the most part, man, when you read about him in the mythology, even though he's the god of war and all this other stuff, he was a really calm guy. Like, I think he was just very self-confident to the point of knowing I don't need to, like, bully anybody to feel a type of way about myself. So, you know, he would mind his own business. He was actually trying to, like, be a farmer and stuff like that and chill out. But his neighbor, the dog, would bully him and harass him and, you know, make life very difficult for Ogun. And Ogun would tell the dog all the time, like, please, just leave me alone. You know, I don't bother you. Like, we can live next to each other peacefully. Like, there's no frustration here, man. Just leave me be. And the dog just would keep going and going and going and going. So they went for divination, each of them, on different occasions with 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗃. And the 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗃 Ogunda was revealed, 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗃, where Ifa told the dog to perform sacrifice to not suffer a premature death. And the dog said, nobody's killing me. I'm the dog. Look at these canines, right? And Ogun was told to perform sacrifice to never go hungry again, to never have needs or wants. And he did. And the next day, when they were living and working side by side, the dog continued to pester Ogun once more. And Ogun looked at him and he said, bro, today's not the day. Please leave me be. I need peace. I don't want to deal with you, you know? What Ogun didn't realize was actually that 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏 was actually inciting fury within him, you know, causing him to not be his normal calm self. So the dog kept barking and barking and barking. And then, yeah, 𝘃𝗶𝗏𝗏 ignited Ogun's 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏 in a way that Ogun pulled his machete and cut the dog's head off. He was like, Ogun, yay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and he just started eating the dog. He was like, I told you, you know what I mean?
Is this why Ogun and Shango have beef a lot?
They have beef. They have beef because the thing is, bro, I love Shango. Everybody's like, oh, this channel has a problem with Shango.
What? No.
By no means. I love Shango. My mother has crowned Shango. My grandmother was a daughter of Shango. I was raised by Shango children. My son has crowned Shango. By no means. But I will say that when it comes to masculinity, when it comes to self-confidence, when it comes to just composure, Ogun was an example, man. Ogun was an example. And Ogun really didn't like to be messed with, man. Like, he was like, he kind of reminds me of Ving Rhames and Baby Boy.
Oh.
You know, just leave him alone. You know what I mean? And, you know, they would keep testing him and testing him and testing him. And then he just flipped out one day, you know, and he flipped out on Shango a couple times because Shango was always messing with him, you know. Shango got lucky because he had the 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏, or he had the lightning, you know, so he was able to nullify Ogun to a certain degree. But, you know, in hand-to-hand combat or just with a knife or whatever, he couldn't see Ogun. Ogun was a master, you know, when it came to the arts of war. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. There's Odus that speak of that. You know, 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗃 speaks of when Ogun defended Shango's son from his father. When Shango was, you know, bullying his son and Ogun threw up the machete and was like, leave the boy alone. You know, I believe... I always get these two confused if it's 𝘃𝗏𝗿𝗃 or 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗃, where, you know, Shango's son wanted to be a son of Ogun, and Ogun said, I'm your uncle and I love you, but you're a son of Shango. So it speaks of that constant tension between the two because they had very different characters. Ogun was very discreet and very precise, and Shango was much more flamboyant and much more, you know, just all about a good time, you know. So they always were at odds ends, but the war between them really kicks off after Ogunda Tatura. A lot of people like to say it was in Ogunda Bara or Ogunda Bambo when they were fighting over Oya. To be frank with you, Oya was small potatoes when it came to their conflict. Like, that was just the cherry on top, so no one misinterprets me. But you know, it really stems from Ogun feeling betrayed by Shango, you know, and eating his dog. You know, so that was a big thing for him. It was a climatic thing for him.
When you ever watch a movie and they have a dog in it, and like the dog dies or something, is that something that's like heartbreaking for you? Because it kills me, man. I Am Legend.
Dog, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, the movies that like, what was the one where the two dogs got lost with the cat?
Homeward Bound. That
was pretty, you know, that affected me. You know what I'm saying? No one died there, luckily. I'm trying to think of a movie that where the dog passed away. I
Am Legend.
Well, I Am Legend I've actually never seen.
Oh, okay.
And I wish I need to delve more into my cinematography.
All Dogs Go to Heaven?
Yeah, that was a cartoony one. Yeah. My kids don't let me watch enough TV. I remember there was one movie where like the sound of the dog getting hurt actually affected me. But then you got movies like Cujo, right?
Oh.
And you're like, dude, I don't know about that. I tell you, my first real emotional response to like a dog was with Jade. You know what I'm saying? So like, I thank God. I think that was, to me, I mean, everybody's dog is the greatest dog ever, but Jade was just so amazing. Like she was always there to comfort. If something fell on the floor, she was the first one to eat it. Just everything you really look for in a domestic canine. God bless her wherever she is. But that was really the first time I ever had a response. I don't really come from a family. I don't know, bro. It might be just our lifestyle. Like Hialeahans, like the dog belongs to everybody. Yeah. Like it's a neighborhood dog. Like he might eat at your house one day and then our house one day. And, the dog really didn't come inside that much. Like if it was a hurricane, we prayed that, he survived, in the neighborhood. So I never really had that relationship. I mean, we didn't own the dog either. We would feed him out of the kindness of our heart. So, there was always, empathy. But, until, Jade, I never really, had that depth to where I could say, okay, this is my dog. But it is sad, you don't want to see anything transpire. You don't want to see anything expire either. But it does happen. Yeah. But I actually, I'm not a huge fan of them in that regard because I almost got bit when I was a kid. And I've had like experiences, like for some reason, the people I've been around, they've had these huge monstrous dogs. And I'm like, I really don't want to be around them because they're a little unpredictable, to be frank with you. But we love animals. I think they're great. And Ifa thought they were great as well. Ogun didn't think they were that great, but, he ate them. So, but yeah, like in the 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃𝗍𝗃 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃, he ate dog. Shango ate dog as well. And in Nigeria, it's really commonplace, man. It's to the point where if Ogun hasn't eaten a dog in Nigeria, they're kind of like, is Ogun there? Because that's like, that is entry level. Like that is obligatory. That's a prerequisite. To consecrate Ogun, the dog has to go. Obviously we live in a country where there's different concepts and whatnot. But over there, the dog and Ogun are synonymous. That energy is completely united to the point where there's a song that says 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃, where it's a verse to be able to enter into covenant with Ogun and the dog and the process that takes place. But it's speaking of Ogun consuming the head of the dog. So for dog lovers, that's a difficult visual, but it's very intrinsic in our faith. Without the dog, Ogun, its spirituality is really not there, debatably. But overall, when you look at that relationship between Ogun and the dog, it was tumultuous, but they needed each other ultimately. So they're synonymous till this day, whether it's Ogun Natatura, whether it's 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃, like we said, the 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃. And then you look at like other Orishas, like the Orisha Yemaya and her relationship with dogs. I mean, even when she was in her path of Ogunte, for the children of Yemaya, dogs are pretty taboo as well, just because of the ancestral interactions between both of them. I mean, the dog betrayed Yemaya. It assaulted Yemaya as well, pretty viciously, to the point where she was never really the same, where it said it mutilated her, or may have even caused her to become decapitated to a certain degree. So definitely for the children of Yemaya Ogunte, dogs are hugely taboo. And it's ironic because that's actually my Yemaya path. So that may explain why I've never really overindulged, and I've kind of always leaned more towards cats and things like that, other than Jade. But, pretty popular, and that story, I'm not sure if you remember, Phil, when we came out with that story about when Yemaya had an affair with 𝗃𝗍𝗿𝗃 and the dog told Ogun. Did you see some of people's responses there?
No, please.
They were pretty angry. Like, how dare you accuse Yemaya of such behavior? This is slander.
This is written.
I said Yemaya wrote the story. I mean, she was the one who put it out there.
Oh no.
But the dog and her ended up on pretty bad terms after that, and such. But when you look at, once again, dogs, right? We talk about them being man's best friend and ally and all these different things. What's a dog's worst enemy? It's a cat.
Cat, right?
It's the cat, right? So originally, in the 𝗃𝗶𝗹𝗁𝗋𝗋, it speaks of a 𝗃𝗏𝗃 where the cat was actually the dog's godfather.
What?
So who initiated the dog into Ifa was the cat, right? And they were friends and they were, you know, spiritual family and everything was fine. But the dog started feeling like he was superior to the cat. And the cat, with his intuition, started realizing that something was brewing in the dog's psyche and heart. So they both went for divination on different occurrences, or occasions, better said. 𝗃𝗏𝗋𝗃 was revealed for both of them. And the dog was told to perform sacrifice to never be at a disadvantage, right? He didn't listen because he thought he was superior. He was arrogant. And the cat was told to perform sacrifice to avoid a premature death. He did the sacrifice. And one day, you know, the dog told the cat, hey, I want you to teach me everything you know. You know, I'm your godson. I love you. Like, teach me everything. I don't want any secrets between us. You know everything about me. And the cat was like, yeah, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you, right? So years go by, and the dog thinks at this point that he's learned everything from the cat, right? So today's going to be the day he's going to strike. And they're next to a tree, and the dog is acting weird. The cat is a little suspicious. And then out of nowhere, the dog tries to attack the cat. And the cat runs up the tree. And the dog looked at him and said, you lied to me. You never taught me that. And the cat said, you lied to me. You betrayed me and tried to kill me. And from that day forward, they've been at odds and ends since forever, right? Damn. Obviously, this might have been before the time of the Belgian Malinois, right? Because that thing will climb up a wall. But, you know, in antiquity, dogs never really had those capabilities or resources to go climbing up a tree after a cat, right?
No.
So, but that's kind of explains why they're always at odds ends. The ironic thing about it is, though, is if you put a cat is an alpha personality, bar none. And I am looking forward to that episode, even if you are not. And, but it's ironic because if you it's always ideal to bring the cat in first, you know, in a household, if you are going to have one, and have the dog raised up under it. You know, because I've seen like bullies, like Rottweilers get sunned by cats, man, like sunned. But then you begin to realize, okay, the cat is kind of the mother, you know. I remember when Jade passed away, my cat Finley, man, he would go like where she would lay, he would look for her, all those different things. Like he would help her. I can't even make this up. Feel like the cat would help the dog back to bed.
Really?
Bro, I swear to you, bro. And we'd be looking at her, and initially, you know, human ignorance, you know, because we always think the way we think. We're like, hey, leave her, you know, like the cat's trying to bully the dog. No, the cat was actually trying to guide the dog back to bed, you know, because the dog was getting older and things like that. So,
man.
Yeah, bro, like the level of empathy was crazy, bro. And I don't know, I mean, ever since the dog passed, like every now and again, he'll go around where she was, and he'll kind of have a pause, because I'm a very observant guy in my household. And I'll be like, bro, this guy misses the dog too, bro. It's wild. But, you know, there's always like, and it reminds me of that movie Homeward Bound, where like the cat felt bad for like the dog, and, you know, it was like love and Roseanne Barr and stuff like that. You know, she was the perfect voice for that cat.
I don't even think I've ever heard anyone say love and Roseanne Barr in the same sentence.
Yeah, right. But she was the perfect voice for that cat.
Uh-huh.
She embodied that. You know, that was her spirit animal for sure.
Yeah. I still think the best voiceover for a cat is Bill Murray as Garfield.
Sure. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. No. My kids love that movie, man.
No, not the movie. That was Chris Pratt. But I'm talking about like the cartoon.
Oh yeah, the old school one. Yeah.
That was Bill Murray.
Yeah, he was perfect. Yeah. I think Garfield's Italian, right?
Yep.
Good. Very good. Paisan. You know, it's a lot of lasagna though. He's got to slow down. He can't climb nothing. But with the dog, there's an 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier about 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏's relationship with the dog. Like the dog has a lot of information, man. Like a lot. Like there's actually a really, and I'll actually circumvent this 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 because there's a really funny one in the 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏. In the 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏, 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 had a child, a son. And the son lived with dogs, right? And he lived filthy. Like, he wouldn't pick up after the dog. He had too many dogs. Like, the house was a mess. It smelled. And 𝗶𝗸𝗍 started getting word back about this situation. So he was like, this guy's my son. He's making me look bad. He looks like a bum. Like, I need him to grow up already and, you know, not just be living in squalor. So he went to his other sons, Shango and Ogun, ironically, and he said, I need you to go over there and fix your brother's lifestyle because I can't have him embarrassing us any further because, you know, we're the royal family and he lives, you know, like a guy on the corner. So when they went over there, they saw what everybody was talking about. Like, the dogs were smelly and the guy was smelly and he was sleeping with them and it was disgusting. So by surprise, Chango yoked up 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏 and basically forced him to take a bath, right? Okay. And Ogun, while Chango was doing that, started cutting all the dogs' heads off and eating them.
Ogun,
he just went crazy. On? He was like, "Oh my God, this is heaven!"
What
and he was
Ogun
like,
doing?
Slash. He was eating, like they say in the story, Ogun passed out from how much he ate, right? So Chango, being a little more stylish, you know, dressed his brother in all white, put some good cologne on him, you know, made him look like gente, or people, as we like to say. And 𝗶𝗸𝗍 was strolling by, and he ran into him, and he said, this is how I want you to look, right? Just because you like dogs doesn't mean you have to live like one, you know? Mm-hmm. So in that Odu, it speaks actually, the Odu of 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗲 speaks of it. The Odu of 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗲 speaks of it as well. 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏 and 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗏 speaks of actually when 𝗶𝗸𝗍 ate dog as well. So it's not uncommon by any means. I mean, especially in the Odu of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏 speaks of it as well, because one of 𝗶𝗸𝗍's paths is Ajaguna or Ayaguna, which means Aya Ogun Ona, which means the dog looks for war on the path. He's the war dog, right? So that path of 𝗶𝗸𝗍 specifically consumes it. It's a masculine path of 𝗶𝗸𝗍. And it consumes it. In the Odu of 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗏, it speaks of when 𝗶𝗸𝗍 ate dog as well. 𝗃𝗶𝗍𝗏, you know, all the ones that I just mentioned. But 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏 is actually pretty indicative as well. It's actually where the differential happens between the way you give dog to Ogun versus dog to 𝗶𝗸𝗍. So, for example, and you'll see this, you know, I'm not a huge fan of depicting these things. I've never, you know, recorded animal sacrifice or anything like that because it's not everybody's cup of tea. I don't prefer it either. But you'll notice that the dogs, for those that, you know, want to see how it's done for professional reasons or spiritual reasons, you see a lot of it happening in Nigeria. The dog for Ogun, you'll notice it's covered in red palm oil, right? And they do that as a way to, you know, favor Ogun. You know, even concepts like that can be found in the Odu of Ogunda, or forgive me, Ogundadio. But when the dog is actually going to be offered to 𝗶𝗸𝗍, they cover it in shea butter. Being that red palm oil is a taboo for 𝗶𝗸𝗍, and shea butter is something that he's much more, you know, appreciative of. So just little nuances and things that change based on Orisha. But in the Odu of 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 or 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏, it's actually where 𝘄𝚀𝗏𝗏𝗏 first manifested. And it speaks of a story. It's known as the Odu of the French Revolution. It's a very similar story where there was a king who was 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏, and his people were going hungry because of his greed. And they were going to start a revolution. And he was trying to find a way to be able to maintain his wealth, but at the same time keep his people from dying because they were going to kill him. So he went running to the Babalao. 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 or 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 was revealed, 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Ifa told him to perform sacrifice with food at the front door. When he did this, a dog came by, and the dog was 𝘄𝗀, and it actually started talking to him. Oh. And you know, like kind of son of Sam, you know, oh my God. But you know, he said, I appreciate the offering, and because of the offering, I'm going to give you the advice you need so you don't end up at the guillotine. Right? You need to feed your people. Whatever you do with your money, you know, you could be a little less greedy, but you need to feed them to the point where they're full. Because the only reason things have gotten to the point of coup is because they're hungry. You know, at the end of the day, you can deprive people of anything. Don't deprive them of food, right? And, you know, you look at third world countries and things like that, like the most inhumane condition that could be placed upon us politically from a government standpoint is, you know, shortages of nutrition. So the guy was like, okay, and he started just feeding everybody. Big food drive, here's food, a chicken in every pot, right? Like when Martin Lawrence said. And yeah, at that point, the revolution was able to subside, and he was able to be on good favor with his people. And, you know, from that point forward, till this day, you'll notice in Ifa Orisha ceremonies, especially like at the table of Ifa or what have you, we take the food from the table or the leftovers, and it's taken to the front door or to the end of the street to the left, so that the dog can come representing 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗏, constantly maintaining the 𝗵𝗸𝗹 and Orisha's house full of ceremony, so it can continue repeating, you know. So it's a really beautiful concept, you know, and that's all 𝘃𝗶𝗃𝗏 𝗵𝗸𝗹. That's why there's a song that says 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃𝗹𝗁, 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃𝗁. There's another one, 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃𝗁, 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃𝗁, which means the woman of Ifa has brought us food. A blessing of the path and a blessing of earth, right? Making reference to when she takes the food to 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 after being so kind to feed the 𝗵𝗸𝗹s. So
Nice.
what do you think, Phil?
Man, you can go forever with these.
Yeah, there's like 10 more, yeah.
No, but I love dogs though.
Dogs are beautiful. They're a beautiful reminder of friendship. Like, you know, DMX was one of my favorite rappers, man. When he passed away, I was pretty sad, man, because he basically was the soundtrack to a huge part of my life. And you saw the relationship he had with his dog Boomer, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, dude had him tatted on the back and everything. There's a really funny story from Drink Champs where I think Nori said they were in the studio and they weren't very nice to the dog. And the dog went outside, and then DMX came in and said, "Oh, you don't like dogs?" You know, like the dog had told him, like that they were mean to him. So, you know, I mean, when you talk about a relationship with an animal, it can become that profound. You know what I'm saying? When you're around it over and over again. So, but you know, shout out and rest in peace to my dog Jade, man. Just a beautiful soul. We love you. And
rest in peace, DMX too.
Shout out.
He was only 50, so
he's a young man, man. It's just ideally we want to be like the dog. We want to be fit like the dog. I mean, you want to talk about cardio, you know, that thing will keep going, you know. So I think, you know, there's a lot of great points to be made. I mean, there's some negative ones too. The dog was a little treacherous. I mean, you know, I'm all about animals. I think they're great. I wasn't raised in a culture necessarily of pets, so it's a little bit foreign to me. But, you know, if you are going to take on the responsibility of an animal, you know, you got to understand everything about that animal. I mean, you know, when you look at odus like 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗏 or 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗏, it speaks of all the diseases that the dog has, from rabies to some of the other things that, you know, I won't mention because there might be some young people watching. But, you know, every dog has a certain set of characteristics that needs to be taken into account, and not lightly, you know, if you're going to take on that responsibility. And even though I'm more of a cat guy, I think they're great.
Well, you know what we need to take into account?
Oh, my members, man.
That's right. It's that time. Time to show love to the people who show love to the channel. If you're wondering why I'm playing the music, it's real simple. You can join our membership program. It's a button right under this video. You click that. It takes you to a magical world. It's only available to exclusive people. So you can join any of our 3 tiers. Each tier offers its own separate perks. Real easy to do. So we're going to show some love to the premium super fans.
Awesome.
That's our 2nd tier. So, you ready?
Super.
All right. Shout out to Hot Lana.
Okay. OG.
All right. Shout out to 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃𝗁.
Hello. Thank you.
Shout out to Mada J.
Okay.
Shout out to Ifa Sakin.
Okay. Ifa 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗁.
Shout out to Ray Valentine.
Okay. Super.
Shout out to Diana the Goddess.
Okay. Thank you.
Shout out to Bomani Punsoto.
Awesome.
Shout out to Chief Olu.
Okay. Thank you.
Shout out to Ancient 47.
Awesome.
And rounded out, we got, let's see here. We got 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲, sorry.
What's
𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for being the best part of the channel, our members. If you know someone that could benefit, be sure to let them know about it. I want to touch on some things such as our sponsors. Luna Hall and Studio is available for renting for any event that you have going on. Weddings, baby showers, and everything in between. Photo shoots, podcasting studio, all of those different things. As well as 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗄𝗍 Event Center. For anybody looking for a space to be able to carry out any ceremony, please get in contact with them. It's a lovely space. Twin Precision Mobile Detailing, get in contact with those guys if you want your car looking brand new with precision, professionalism, and punctuality. And all of our sponsors, we sincerely appreciate you. 𝗿𝗲𝗹𝗻𝐷𝗉𝗋candlesandmore.com is up and running for all your service and product needs. We do ship. If you can't catch us here on YouTube and video, be sure to listen to us on Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or any of the major platforms. Be sure to subscribe, guys. A big thank you from all of us here at Our Roots Podcast, and until next time, see the light.
Baba Joseph showed the path today. Baba knows the way, we follow the signs. He walks with the 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients, he honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from.